Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Josh. I have a subject this evening I wanted to talk about that's something that I think about on and off. It's a subject that kind of intrigues me, and it has to do with all the different practices that people have in life that they claim are, true spiritual paths. Um, I guess there's a large difference in how these different religions approach things, in the sense that, let's say, in the West, Western religions often they say that you just, once you've entered this, forgiveness, you've asked Jesus for forgiveness, and you've entered the kingdom of God, you become a Christian, that's when your awakening happens. That it happens once you become a Christian. Whereas in the East, in Eastern traditions, it's something that you have to work towards. It's like a lifetime of seeking. So I guess I'm speaking more about the Eastern religions here than the Western, because I know that they're totally different in their approach. What I mean is that as a Christian, you can learn and read from the Bible and learn more about Christianity, but there's no attained feeling you're really trying to get from that. You're already a Christian. You're already feeling great. Most Christians I've met say that they felt the greatest once they had finally asked Jesus for help, is what I'm saying, and then they'd come into this belief system, and that was when they were at their strongest. They were like, wow, amazed that they felt so great. Sometimes over a life experience, sometimes it was just something they were brought up to. But I'm not here to harp on Christianity. I'm here to talk about some of the Eastern religions that are ones that I would be more interested in, if anything. Things like Buddhism, Sikhism, I guess, would be one of those, I believe. And I don't, Hinduism is a very interesting concept to me. And I know that all these Eastern religions are basically based on the same scripts, the same texts. And Buddhism is just a kind of an offshoot of it. But I've studied it a bit, and I've talked to people who practice Buddhism, and what I've found is that after reading book after book about different ideas of different approaches to awareness, or different people have different approaches to becoming, let's say, wise, like the Gnostics. The Gnostics, I was reading the Book of Knowledge today. It was a Gnostic text translated from, I think it was Hagman. I can't remember the name of the place, Nag Hammon or something. These texts were found in 1945 in Egypt, and they're very close to biblical texts, and there was many of them. But anyway, I was reading one, and all of these, some of the differences, the major differences in the way that Eastern people thought, was that you're seeking wisdom within yourself and seeking a level where you can attain a level of awareness, but something that takes dedication. The Hindus might take this as meditation, or moving towards your, moving up your chakras. So what I'm getting at here is that you hear some people talk about how it takes years and years to really get to that level. The level where you can be a true, well, there are a lot of different names for it, but to where you've moved beyond this material realm and you've become, I guess, seen the light, if you will. I'm trying not to be corny here, because I have I have a purpose in mind for this video. It was really just to tackle the idea that you might hear 10 different people tell you 10 different things to aspire to be. And if you spend many years researching one of these, you can only research so many of them. So if a person started out in their 20s and decided, I want to go through and experience each religion and each different belief system, they'd never be able to make it in their lifetime. Because there are some people who say, oh, it takes a lifetime of Buddhism to attain this, or it takes a lifetime of Hinduism to attain that. And many of the Western religions are similar as well. So what I'm saying is, we have to remember that none of us can know what another's experience is. None of us can know what another person has been through. And how can we ever know if we've reached that level? if you know what I mean, and a lot of you do. A lot of us are trying to see if there really is a point of knowledge that's not just hidden knowledge. There's tons of occult knowledge and hidden stuff out there that people could learn if they want to. And I was really into it on and off through my life, but I've gotten to the point where I want to know which knowledge is essential, which knowledge helps us, which knowledge really helps you to become a better person, not which knowledge makes me more wise or have better ideas than the next guy. And I think that's really important. I see a lot of arguing over what things mean or translations of texts, and I went through a phase where I tried to defend what I believed that certain interpretations were of religious texts. I quickly phased out of that, realizing that it was a totally fruitless endeavor, and it was never going to bring me to any higher level of state or being within myself. I wasn't gaining from it. I was only arguing. So that led me to making this video to say, what is important? What have you found, as people, that is important to you? Have you attained some particular level that you find has been helpful? But not just knowledge, because all the knowledge is out there. The only knowledge that isn't out there is the knowledge that you have to find within yourself through experience. And that's something that you can't ever express or explain or share with people. That's the Zen, the hidden, the unspoken, the unspeakable, something you cannot put to language. But as for what we can learn, and I'm saying whether it be through mantras and chants, whether it be through a particular type of yoga or exercise, or whether it be through prayer, or whether it be through poses or magical passes or tai chi, my question for all of this is, how much of it is our natural endorphin system? Because I got acupuncture the other day, and I did a lot of deep research on acupuncture. And it just so happened I was listening to these philosophy lectures that I have on my MP3 player, and I didn't set myself up for this at all. I had it on random, and it flipped to this one that was about acupuncture. It was about the senses, and it was about acupuncture. And it was about an hour long, and it was talking about all these different studies that they did when they found out about acupuncture and how it worked. And they tried all these different experiments to say, does it affect it this way? No. Does it affect us this way? No. And the Chinese would say, well, it's our qi. It's part of our qi. And what they came to found was that when you use opiate blockers, it didn't work for pain. And so basically what it is a natural opiate releaser from your own body, your endogenous morphine in your body. Now, so what that led me to wonder is how many of these other things, positions, I watched a video today what Gabriel did about tapping. When you tap, when you're stressed, tap on your head, stuff like that. People have all kinds of different things. There's pressure points, there's acupressure, acupuncture, magical passes like Carlos Castaneda spoke of, Tai Chi, many different positions you can hold which trigger certain natural body responses. So yeah, you could call it your chi, you could call it your energy field, you could call it your aura, whatever you want to call it. I think what all of these things are leading to is the idea that they're all basically the same thing, but they're not based on some mystical property all the time like people think. It's not it's not necessarily an invisible field. Although when you start to really understand how these natural chemicals work, such as endorphins, endogenous morphine, people often think chemicals and they think it's just something that sprays out into your bloodstream, as if it's a chemical that just leaks out into your blood and fills your body. It's not always that way. A chemical signal is sent. It's a completely, you think of it as a vibration or a frequency even that's sent through your body, allowing your body to understand, oh, you're in this position, or you took this drug, or you did this particular thing. Now I know I'm rambling, but placebo effect is huge. I mean, it's a major player in medicine, and we can't really dispute placebo. In some cases, placebo has outweighed the efficacy of the drugs, and makes one wonder how much of it is personal effect or interpretation of the effectiveness or efficacy of the treatment, and how much of it is the actual treatment itself. And I think it's a combination of the two. Now, acupuncture is a good example because I don't think that acupuncture itself has anything to do with intention, because now they know it releases your endorphins, therefore it does work for pain. I mean, I used it for my back, and I could stand up and I could actually cough afterwards. It was amazing, you know. But it's not a solution. And people are trying to find long-term solutions to their problems. And if you have pain, covering up the pain isn't always going to be the solution. So, anyway, back to the idea that these things, yes, they work. Now that we can understand how they work, that's knowledge I see as power. That is knowledge of a particular mystical thing called acupuncture, which I found to be beneficial to my life, and now has helped me to understand how it works better. Now, that's a long-winded explanation, but you get to the point of what I'm saying, that I want to know each and every aspect of how things work, not just people's floaty opinions or, oh, this feels good or this worked for me, but, you know, to know a little bit of the background of it, a little bit of scientific understanding of the things that I'm speaking about, so at least I'm not feeling like an idiot by saying, you know, oh yes, this is real, this is totally real because I felt it, you know, I felt it. I just knew when I did it, you know. It's kind of like when people say that they talk to God. They just say, I just knew. And it's like, well, I just knew that I talked to God in my own way. And, you know, it could go on and on, back and forth. It's a totally useless debate. Trying to explain your feelings to another person and not understanding how much of it's placebo effect, how much of it's personal manifestation of your own emotions, and knowing how intention can release your own chemicals within your bloodstream and release chemicals and vibrations within your brain that make you happy and ecstatic. Yes, singing in church is a very ecstatic thing, and yes, praying for big groups is a very ecstatic thing. And I went to a shaman workshop where we did a big meditation. That was an extremely, you know, intense thing. Anytime you have a major experience, you're likely to attach to that experience as being the one experience that can get you there. And that's what I'm asking is, how many people have had that experience, that kind of satori or awakening? And out of those people, how do you know if you really had it? And when you can't compare your experience to someone else's, how do you know if you're really awake? How do you know if this awakening or awareness that you think you have is real? Or if it's just another way of your brain filling your mind with drugs, natural sedatives and natural opiates in order to make yourself feel content with life the way it is? And those are the questions that I have to ask myself, because I like to go along my way merry and dandy thinking things are great, and they are. I'm a positive thinker and I keep things in check, but by attaching to one idea, I know how dangerous that can be for people. So I always ask the question, how do we know our experiences are any more valid than another person's? And unless you can spend your entire life in each different religion, maybe then you might get barely a grasp on some of it. Barely. But with all the different versions of what people believe, it doesn't really matter. But it does matter to people because they want to have something. They want to know if they're wasting their time, let's say with a particular belief system. They look at another one and say, maybe that's the right one. And that's kind of who I'm kind of speaking at in this, you know, people who say, maybe Buddhism is for me, or maybe Hinduism is for me. And it's a huge leap to dedicate yourself to a belief system and follow a practice and a meditative route in order to get something that you don't even know if you may be able to attain through another route. And I guess one perfect example would be psychedelics. People who have taken psychedelics compare them to a major awareness that can take years through meditation to attain. But it's just a glimpse. It's not a long-held feeling, but it's something that you can attain through psychedelics that gives you a glimpse of that and makes you want it again. I can't explain that experience to anyone, but anyone who's hard knows what I'm talking about. So, that's about all I've got on that subject, and I just, you know, how do you know? How do you really know? And, you know, I'm not too proud to question my own beliefs, and I think that's what keeps me sane in this world. Peace and love.